With me today, I have a brand new 2020 Nissan Pathfinder, and this is a 3-row SUV from Nissan. Now, I lived with a Pathfinder for several years, and I think this is a fantastic SUV that a lot of people are overlooking. Now, I'm also noticing that a lot of critics and reviewers, they tend to be overly critical on the Pathfinder, mentioning a lot of negatives, not so much on the positives. So in this review video, I'm going to share everything there is to know about this brand new Pathfinder so you can decide if this is the right 3-row midsize SUV for you. Stay tuned. Before I get started, I want to give a big thanks to my friends at Bill K Nissan in Downers Grove. They made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Nissan, make sure you check them out. Their information is on the screen and in the description below. Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2020 Nissan Pathfinder, and this happens to be the Rock Creek edition. Let's start out with the outside. The Pathfinder has a round, bubbly shape, but overall I still think it looks like a good crossover SUV. Now, because this is a Rock Creek edition, there's exterior changes. It kind of adds in some ruggedness and some sportiness to the Pathfinder. Now, up front, you have a large V-motion grille, no surprises there, but you do see it is black because this is the Rock Creek, and you see a lot of other trim pieces on the outside, and the badges, they're all blacked out. But take a look at the V-motion grille with the headlights. They have a unique shape. They're not LED, they are projector headlights, but they do have a unique shape, auto on off, and you do get fog lights underneath. Now, moving on to the side, you still have that crossover profile. On top, you do see roof rails. They look pretty beefy and they are blacked out. Same thing with the mirrors and the window surround and the door handles and even the wheel fenders. And also the wheels are specific, 18-inch wheels specific to the Rock Creek, and it adds a little bit of ruggedness to this Pathfinder. Now in the rear, it still has that bubbliness, the roundness to the rear. You do see a large spoiler on top, a shark fin antenna, large privacy glass, and you see the middle trim piece has been blacked out. Same thing with the badging, everything blacked out. On the bottom, you do have the tow package. Now, something that's unique to the Pathfinder is this SUV can tow up to 6,000 pounds. If you look at every other SUV in this class besides the Durango, they can only tow up to 5,000 pounds. So those of you guys that need an extra 1,000 pounds of towing, the Pathfinder will do that for you. Now, moving inside, let's start out with the cargo room. Behind the third row, you do have a good amount of cargo room. There's not much back there other than a 12V plug on the left side. Now, underneath the bottom cover, you do have a lot of hidden storage separated by dividers, which is nice. But half of it is taken up by the Bose amplifier back there, so unfortunately that takes up some space. But if you didn't have enough space behind the third row seats, simply fold them down. You do have to fold down the headrest first, and then you can fold down the seat back, and then you have a lot more cargo room. And in case that wasn't enough, then fold down the second row to generate even more cargo room. Now, by the way, you do have a power liftgate in the back. That's not unusual, but you also do get the hands-free feature, which is nice. In some SUVs, they work really well, and some they don't. This one happens to work very well. Every time it opened up on the first try, which is really nice. Now, moving to the second row, the seats are covered with a leather material with orange stitching and gray and black color combination. It's part of the Rock Creek package. Now, as for space, I'm 5'10", and you could see I still have 4 to 5 inches of leg room. Actually, with the car turned on, the seat moves up a little bit, so you actually get more leg room than what you see here. I would have liked to see more headroom, but some of that goes to the panoramic sunroof setup. Now, one of the best things about the Pathfinder is third row access. The seats fold up and then forward, and you could see once it does that, there's an enormous amount of room to get in the third row. Access to the third row is one of the easiest in this Pathfinder. Even if you had a car seat attached, it will still slide forward a little bit, not all the way, but that's really nice. Now, once you're in the third row, you can see I moved the second row up a little bit, a few inches, and then I have enough leg room. Now, on the side, you do have a pair of cup holders on each side and vents. You do have a vent on each side. So like today, it's 90+ degree out, and thank God there's vents back here. Now, passengers in the second row get heated seats, climate control, vents, and plenty of ports, USB ports and 12V outlet. Unfortunately, some of the other niceties such as ventilated seats or sunshades are not available. But if you look on top, a panoramic sunroof setup where it's a dual sunroof setup is available, so second and third row passengers get plenty of light in the back. Now, moving up front, this Pathfinder has a good neutral look. It doesn't look very edgy or modern, but it doesn't look very dated either. Started with the steering wheel. It's a leather wrapped steering wheel with orange stitching that matches the theme for the Rock Creek. In terms of the feel and thickness, they're good, but a little bit slippery. Now, this is not the newer style that you find in some of the other Nissans with the flat bottom. Now, moving to the gauge cluster, you have an analog speedometer and analog tachometer, but you do have a small info screen and kind of has a 3D look to it. And you could scroll through many things, trip computer, compass, your radio, and you could adjust settings. One of the cool things, or weird things, or a quirk that you could adjust in the settings is the color of your Pathfinder. So if you wanted to match the actual color of your Pathfinder, you can. And I guess that's kind of cool. On the left side of the steering wheel, you do have some buttons. You do have heated steering wheel, and that button is hidden over there in the power tailgate, and some other features you could turn on or off. Also, in this Rock Creek, you do have memory seats. You have 2 settings for that. And if you take a look on the door panel in the center console and the dash, this Rock Creek edition adds on this carbon fiber trim that has orange, like hints of orange inside. It's a very unique look, and it matches the orange stitching and everything else in here, and I actually do like that. Now, this infotainment screen is what every critic and every reviewer disses right away and says it's so laggy, you know, so dated and this and that. But, you know, honestly, going through the settings and all the buttons and everything seems okay. It's actually not too bad, and this screen surprisingly is touch. I thought this wasn't touch and you had to use this big keypad for it, but no, it is touch and everything's there. And plus, if you hit the camera button, you do see you have a camera in the rear and also 360 view camera system in this Pathfinder too, so that's nice. Now, the downside is there is no Apple CarPlay nor Android Auto, so those are not available. But in this Rock Creek, you do have navigation, built-in navigation, and all the goodies in here. Now, moving below, you actually do have a CD player in here. Almost every new car now does not have a CD player, but this Pathfinder does. Pretty easy setup. And then below that, climate control. You have tri-zone climate control in here, which is nice. That's standard on all trims, and that's pretty self-explanatory. You have knobs on the side, both sides, to control the temperature, fan control, defroster options. Now, below that, you do have 2 USB ports, a 12V outlet, and some space for your phone. You also get heated seats up here, which is nice. Unfortunately, no ventilated seats. Now, the seats themselves, they look pretty good. They have a sporty vibe to it. Not very rugged, but sporty vibe to it, and I like the way they look. It is leatherette, so when you feel it, it does feel a little slippery, but there's enough bolstering so that it's actually holding my back, and I'm not sliding around while I'm driving, so that is good. Now, Nissan seats are zero gravity seats. They're really comfortable normally. Now, in this Pathfinder, they're still comfortable, but I find it a little bit more stiff than the seats in the other Pathfinders reviewed. Now, the armrest, the center console area, it's nice because there's 2 layers, and Nissan actually labeled it. It has small things like pencils, pens, or whatever you can put on top, and larger things on the bottom. 2 more USB ports and a 12V outlet, so you get plenty of USB ports in this Pathfinder. Next, let's talk about the drive. Let's start out with visibility and driving position. Both, I think, are good. Because this is a 3-row SUV, you do sit higher up, you get a commanding view of the road, which is nice. But the way Nissan designed the hood, I can see well past the hood, so front visibility is actually really, really good. Side visibility with large windows, very nice. Same thing with blind spot, almost non-existent, but in this Rock Creek, you do get blind spot monitoring included, which is nice, but really, you get really good visibility out of your blind spot regardless. And the back window is actually nice and big, but I do have the 3rd row headrest up, and they do kind of block your visibility a little bit. And even the middle headrest in the 2nd row kind of block your view too. So the way the headrests are designed, they kind of get in the way. So cabin noise, interior sounds, it's very nice, it's very quiet. I don't really hear much from the road or the wind, cars passing by. It's quite nice. The suspension is decent. I do feel like it's a little bit more bumpy than others in this class, a little bit more stiff, but overall around town, I'm not having any problems with this Pathfinder. You know, I've read a lot of people say it feels like it's a boat that you're wallowing around and the suspension is no good. I don't get a sense of that. This is about the same. In a higher riding SUV, especially a large one like this, they tend to kind of be a little bit floaty, right? The center of gravity is a little bit higher. You're carrying around a lot of weight. I don't feel like this is less nimble than, say, a Honda Pilot or a Toyota Highlander. It feels about the same. Now, one thing, unfortunately, that isn't so good in this Pathfinder is the steering feel. Nissan artificially put a lot of weight to it, so it does feel very weighted, but it's not very precise. So there's a lot of play in the steering wheel. Hopefully you guys can see that. You could have a lot of play in the steering wheel before you actually feel the input in the Pathfinder. So unfortunately, the steering isn't a strong suit in here. Now, one thing that I can't really showcase is the Bose premium audio system, which is part of the premium package for the Rock Creek. 14 speakers, you saw the amplifier in the back. It is actually a really good audio system for those of you guys that are looking for a good system. Before I started filming, I was blasting away, and this sound system is actually really good. Now let's talk about the engine transmission before I try my acceleration test. There's a good V6 engine in here that's pushing 284 horsepower and about 260-ish pound-feet of torque. It's made it to a CVT transmission. Now Nissan made it a CVT because they want to save on gas. So fuel economy in here is towards the top. You get 22 miles per gallon combined for a mid-size SUV, which isn't bad. Okay, so that was acceleration from about 20 to 60 miles per hour. Wasn't bad, it wasn't fast, wasn't slow. 0 to 60 in here is about 7.4 seconds, again in line with others in this class. The only nitpick I could say is it sounds loud, right? The engine and CVT sounds loud. You have that droning voice to it, and there's no shifting that you can feel, so it just feels unusual. Now, as for safety features, unfortunately this Pathfinder doesn't get the full suite, the Safety Shield 360, but it does get a lot. All Pathfinders come standard with automatic braking, front braking, and warning, also rear sensors. That's standard. Now, on the upper trims, you do get blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, also adaptive cruise control. So in this Rock Creek, you get all that. So you pretty much get the full suite. The only thing you don't get is any kind of lane assist and ProPilot assist, which basically combines intelligent cruise control with lane assist. So it kind of semi-automatically drives your car. So that's the only thing that's missing in here. Now, as for pricing, a base Pathfinder two-wheel drive comes in around $31,000, a little bit over 30. This one, because it is the SL, also it has the Rock Creek package and the Rock Creek Premium package. Also, a few other little things tacked on along with four-wheel drive. This is coming in right around $45,000. But because of all the incentives that's going on right now, this is actually coming in more like $40,000 or $41,000. It makes it a lot more affordable. And honestly, at this price range, this makes a whole lot of sense. At the beginning of the video, I talked about how a lot of critics and reviewers only talk about the negatives. Well, I think there's a lot going for the Pathfinder, and I think for this price range, within the three-row midsize SUV segment, this is definitely one to look at. To conclude, the 2020 Nissan Pathfinder may be showing its age in some areas, such as lack of optional features and that infotainment screen, but there is still plenty of good things about it to make it a compelling SUV to look at. It is spacious, fuel efficient, has easy third row access, plenty of safety features, plenty of USB ports, and lastly, because of its price. I'm giving the brand new Pathfinder an overall score of 98. To see how it ranks among its peers, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews, first looks, and news.